Hello. Hi. Good day to all of you once again. Thank you for joining us here again for our Moxibustion webinar care of LAMP and PAAI. So we will just pick up where we left off last time. So to continue, we will now start off by discussing the ancient techniques of Moxibustion. So first up, we have the long snake moxibustion with ginger and or garlic. So as a technique, this long snake moxa, it involves the dew meridian or your governing vessel, ginger, garlic, moxa floss, and fire, indicated for conditions that result from cold and deficiencies of yang. It is a more extreme treatment. So utilizes both the primary and collateral dew from the base of the spine up to the neck at Touchway or GB14, and thus strongly affects the chi of the whole body. So the action when doing this long snake moxa, it supplements your yang, warms the channels, expels cold, expels wind, strengthens the spine. Just a reminder, because garlic and ginger is a skin irritant, varying degrees of irritation may occur, including blisters. So when you have a long period of contact, direct skin contact with ginger and garlic, you can still have blisters, even without igniting the moxa or flame. No? So technically, to perform this technique, you will need the following: some gauze, your scissors, your alcohol, lighter, your ginger or garlic or both, and one bag of loose moxa. Then you can also use 300 grams instead of the typical 150 grams based on your TCM judgment. So the food processor is used to mash your ginger and garlic so as to reduce the effort of chopping them up one by one. So to do this process, you cut the gauze because this will serve as a barrier to the skin and will make clean up easier after the treatment has been completed. As you have seen in the picture, you first set the gauze. Once you have enough thickness of the gauze set, you tend to put now slowly and evenly spread your ginger and garlic mixture over the spine, starting near the base of the spine, moving up to C7 to thoracic 1. No? And then pat down the ginger and garlic so that it is flat and even. Once the ginger garlic mixture is flat and even, moxa is next, or your loose moxa, or what we call the moxa wool. So on top of the ginger and garlic mixture, begin creating a layer of moxa. Again, start at the base of the spine and continue adding the moxa gently and evenly. Once completely layered, pinch the top aspect of the moxa layer into a crest. So in short, you have to make it stable or stabilized. No? Just like this old lady does, she did almost a great wall of moxa at the back of the patient at the spine, the two governing vessel. Then, if you're wondering what's the alcohol for, it's to speed up the burning process. So you can use a syringe to draw up several ml of alcohol and evenly spread it to lightly moisten the entirety of the moxa layer. And then, once you evenly spread it and moisten it up, you can now ignite it accordingly. No? So, you carefully monitor the patient for safety. Sit with the patient for the duration of the burning of the herb. This may take roughly 20 or more minutes, no? But actually, approximately half an hour. And then, after the moxa has cooled completely, you can use the dorsal aspect of your hand to check for thermal confirmation if the heat has penetrated deep inside. And then once it's all is finished, you carefully lift the gauze from its ends. Be very careful so as not to topple all the remaining ingredients on the patient's body, no? Being sure not to drop it, and place the materials into a tub or waste receptacle that contains no flammable items for later disposal. Then you would also notice that the patient will have skin redness and possible blisters. So this is expected. Clean the patient back of loose moxa and ginger garlic mixture. So as you can see, the patient's whole spine or dew meridian is red in nature because this is a very strong technique. You are utilizing a hot ingredient, a warm ingredient together with a warming technique of moxa. No? So after the patient is completed, allow the patient to sit, relax, and prepare themselves to go back in their daily lives. Some patients may feel lightheaded or adrift. May be possible because of orthostatic hypotension. Make sure that they do not get up fast or immediate, slowly rising from the bed and dangling the feet, and make sure they're not that dizzy. No? Encourage them to return weekly until the condition has resolved or once you correct your deficiency of yang. No? Another ancient technique that we're going to discuss is the so-called thunder fire moxibustion. So thunder fire moxibustion is actually a big moxa, roughly 4 cm diameter, but it has the emphasis here, it has multiple multiple Chinese ingredients in it, mostly to dispel blood stasis, invigorate the channels, warm the meridian, so as to bring about the magnitude of a synergistic effect. So this is an example of thunder fire moxa. Technically, the length is just same with your moxa stick, 20 centimeters in length. But this time, the diameter from a normal 1.8 centimeter diameter, it now enlarges to 4 centimeter diameter. So this one can cover a whole larger portion and its heat will penetrate much deeper in terms of strength of the heat, easily times 3 or times 4 from our traditional moxa. So as you can see, some of the ingredients they use are saffron, your myrrh, your rhizoma gingivaris, nototherigium, your huangzi or radix angelicae, and so on and so forth. No? Next, this is the actual picture of your Thunder Fire Moxa, but I just wanted to show here that the Thunder Fire Moxa also has different formulation and ingredients based on the specific conditions you want to treat. Like for example, if you can see these two pink moxa, they are suited for female use. So this one would relate to gynecological problems or problems of blood, no? Then on beside of that is the brown. This one is for the meridian and collateral type of thunder fire moxa if you have obstruction. Then for this, for example, for this green thunder moxa, this one is more or less for calming type of moxa. So this one is used for anxiety, insomnia, so on and so forth. Okay? So here is our Moxibustion workshop, the first Moxa workshop after the during the pandemic, held just this last year of September 19, 2022. I'm sure some of you here are listening right now, no? Especially Abet, no? Abet. Okay, so I wanted to show here that your Moxa, the Thunder Fire Moxa, is just 4 cm. So as you can see during this photo of ours, we have more and more bigger moxa. So from 5 cm to 6 cm to 8 cm to 9 cm and to even the largest 10 centimeter diameter. These are used for severe cases of yang collapse. So your moxa has many types nowadays. And these are all my moxibustion materials that I use personally. No? Okay. So, with that being said, we're now done with the TCM point of view for moxibustion. I'm sure most of you are curious what's on the other end of the spectrum for moxibustion in terms of Western medicine. So, with that being said, let's tackle moxibustion in terms of Western medicine perspective. So did you know that in September 12, 2013, in PubMed, so this was done by the Chinese and even the Korean doctors, no? They tried to analyze moxibustion, the mechanism using modern research. Did you know that in the abstract, it says that the moxa has dual effect of tonifying and reducing in TCM theories, no? Through the actions of your meridian system. They also noted that the moxa has thermal effects, radiation effects, pharmacological actions of moxa and its combustion products. They also found out that the moxa has a radiation spectrum of zero point 0.8 to 5.6 micrometers, no? With the peak nearly at 1.5 micrometers or near infrared portion. Later, we'll discuss more on that. There's also an amazing consistency in the IR spectrums of the three types of indirect moxa and the unified spectrum of acupoints. Later, we'll discuss this more, but did you know they concluded still great distance from fully understanding the mechanism of moxibustion. So moxa has been applied to treat great range of diseases way back in the ancient times. But they did a survey, it can treat roughly around 364 kinds of disease. No? Okay, so a quick recap for our traditional moxa for those of you who have missed the previous lecture. So remember, TCM theory, you can tonify and reduce, same with moxa. So usually it is inclined more or less to warming and nourishing. So moxa is often applied in deficiency cold syndrome. But take a note of this. Although some excess heat syndrome can also use it. But when you read your books, they always say no. Excess heat syndrome is always contraindicated. I would like to believe otherwise because not everything written in the book is an absolute statement. So we tend to learn more and more daily with our ancient practices. No? That's why we have researches. Next. The role of moxa can be broadly grouped into warm nourishing, warm dredging, and warm melting. Some people believe that warm dredging is the nature of moxibustion and is the key role of moxa effects. So the function of moxa, expelling cold, promoting the circulation, clearing away heat for detox, and etc., are dependent on the efficacy of moxibustion for circulating your chi and blood flow, or your chi, blood, and body fluids as well. No, so it's as closely related with chi and blood, because remember, uh, blood is the mother of chi, and chi is the commander of blood, as what we have always been taught in TCM. No. So when you say warm nourishing, it actually means to benefit the yang, tonifying chi, nurturing blood. Warm dredging means to the functions of activating blood, dissolving stasis, promoting chi, dredging channels, and relieving pain. Warm melting refers to the roles of reducing phlegm, eliminating stagnation, removing wind, dispelling dampness, drawing out poison, and purging heat. So, in the meridian system, I'm sure you're quite familiar already with the meridian system since you already took up your basic and even your advanced acupuncture. So, I will not delve on this more deeper because I'm sure you know it. But just a reminder, moxa is closely related to meridians, cutaneous regions, and acupoints. No? So remember your channels and collaterals. Even when we do our acupuncture, we regulate the chi flow in the channels and collaterals. So cutaneous region, surface part of the 12 regular channels, which are nourished by the channel chi, status of the chi and blood, you can see that as well. And then we also are very familiar with our acupuncture points in which the chi of the organs and meridians assembled act as target points and response points of treatment. No? So in the meridian system, remember, no, through the meridian system, moxibustion can reinforce the insufficiency and reduce excessiveness and directly correct the disease state of the human body or activate the meridian system self-healing function and play a therapeutic role. So remember, in TCM, you always balance whatever imbalance you may have. So our body is actually miraculous in a sense that it can detect whatever imbalance we have and it will correct that imbalance to the equilibrium, no? So for example, sometimes, right, when we have patients of high blood pressure or acupuncture, no, they do acupuncture. So your high blood pressure would normalize to the normal BP. Now, people are asking, what about those that are hypotensive or those with low blood? Remember, your acupuncture is dual function. It will correct whatever imbalance you may have. So you can also do acupuncture for those with low blood pressure. And after you do your acupuncture, the low blood pressure would normalize also to the equilibrium of normotensive BP. So that's the wonder of our bodies. They can heal itself, detect whatever imbalance you may have, and when you do this treatment, it will correct that imbalance to a state of homeostasis. Okay? Next, we also have the action of moxibustion in terms of moxa and fire, no? So, on moxibustion fire in TCM, there is a discussion in your Shen Qiu Qing Lun stating that moxibustion using fire for being hot and rapid with soft body can bear with that to eliminate the shadow. It can move instead of stay and always go into organs, no? So remember, fire is hot, so it can warm back the yang and eliminate cold of the yin. Even it can melt the poisoning things caused by your pathogens. Also, remember, fire is speedy, so it can dredge the channels, remove the pain or numbness, and activate blood and chi. So, the feature of Moxa fire shows the main role of Moxa. Moxa fire is warm without dry, and it can ascend and descend with strong penetration ability into the viscera. In one of the ancient classics in Pu Fang, acupuncture cited the Xiaopin Fang on 8 kinds of fire. So these are respective materials or ingredients in terms of wood for generating fire. So they just advise that these 8 technically none of them can be used. But these are just in the ancient classics. These are in the ancient classics. So this is nowadays being overlooked, no? But it's just recorded in the classics. So basically what they're trying to say, materials are very important to moxibustion. Choosing the materials of moxibustion in TCM is quite arduous task actually. Okay? Remember, also said that the moxa leaf, no, Compendium of Materia Medica also said that the moxa leaf are slightly bitter and over spicy when raw and slightly spicy and over bitter when processed. So a processed moxa is over bitter. It can resolve dampness more than our raw moxa. So moxa with the nature of pure yang, raw moxa is warm and become hot after processing because after you process it and dry it, remember the ingredients are being summated and they will become synergistic. So it can take the tayang fire and get back the dying yang. It can go through 3 yin, get rid of all the cold and dampness, and turn the cold into warm after taking orally. Because some ancient Chinese, they tend to harvest the fresh leaves of your Artemisium vulgaris or Artemisium RG and make it as tea. So you have to consider that its nature of pure yang, so you can take it as tea as well orally. No? Moxibustion can get into channels, cure hundreds of disease, as what we have discussed. Properties of the raw moxa leaves are warmer after being processed, become moxa wool, which are suitable for moxibustion, and generally, the rule is the older the moxa, the better it is. So the ancient chose moxa as moxibustion material for it is easy to collect, more for its drug properties, and long-term clinical practices have proved that. Okay, so the traditional moxibustion theory revolves around your meridian channels and your moxa and the fire itself. Now, let's go to the mechanism of the moxibustion. We have 3. First up is your thermal effects. Did you know that burning moxa without flame can produce a high temperature about 548 to 890 degrees Celsius? It will give a warm feeling when it is close to the body. So some people think that this treatment essentially a thermal physical effect. And did you know that a 2 milligram of moxibustion on mice, when they did it on their abdomen of the mice, it can raise the temperature to 130 degrees Celsius outside the skin of the point and 56 degrees Celsius inside the skin. So the same changes of temperature were not observed in the forelimb. So they did it on abdomen or abdominal moxa. So by using a 50 milligram cone of direct moxa, the temperatures of the epidermal, subcu, and basal layers of the skin were different. It suggests that moxibustion thermal stimulation affects both shallow and deep tissues of the skin. So, indirect moxa was about 65 degrees Celsius on the skin and 45 degrees Celsius in the subcutaneous layer. Then, did you know that the temperature time curve of moxa cone can be characterized as slow rising, rapid decline, and slow decline phases? No? So actually, the actual temperature of the moxa it's affected by the texture, the size, and the moisture content of the insulating material. So different moxas are not the same, like what I've shown you. So they did a study, no? Direct moxa, ginger moxa, suspended moxa, light moxa, and helium neon laser moxibustion. Did you know all of them except the helium neon laser moxibustion had significantly changed the temperature of the acupoints through the skin to the muscularies, and each had their own rules and characteristics. So basically, it suggests that the effects on acupoints and even the efficacy of moxibustion depends on the temperature changing of acupoint caused by moxibustion. So others observed the relationship between the moxa effect and the intensity of thermal stimulation through the pain threshold. So increasing the burning moxa amount unit per time can significantly improve the immediate analgesic effect and lingering effects. So basically what they're trying to say here is that when you have a noxious thermal stimuli of 44 to 52 degrees Celsius, you would activate your SRD neuron. Remember, your SRD neurons is one of those that is in charge of the pain sensation and pain analgesic effects, no? So, they also analyzed the warm receptor and your PRs, no? And they found out that the antipyretic and thermolytic effects of moxibustion are achieved by stimulating polymodal receptors of acupoints. So your acupoints is not just a location, it's not just a place where your chi and blood gather, but it is also has significant receptors to it. Because remember, in Western medicine, the acupoints, no, they are a concentration of thick nerve bundles there. So remember, when your needle touches those nerves, it will elicit a nervous response and then eventually a systemic response. Okay? So the effect of moxa on the skin can appear as hotness, flushing, pain, blisters, and other skin irritations and burn phenomena. Just like a while ago when you saw the long snake moxa, it has full redness. And take a look at this. Moxibustion can lead to vasoconstriction at the burning point per se, but the vessels around the point would vasodilate and increase peripheral arterial blood flow and microvascular permeability. A very interesting finding. That's why moxa can help regulate your blood, chi, and blood flow in conjunction with Western medicine saying vasodilation around the point and increased peripheral arterial blood flow and microvascular permeability. Also, remember, another thermal effect of moxa is your HSPs or your heat shock proteins. For those of you that don't know this HSPs are a group of proteins that function to reverse or inhibit denaturation or unfolding of cellular proteins in response to a stress or high temperature. No? So these are our first line defense. Usually when we have burn injuries, so as to defray or lessen the injury, your heat shock proteins play a role in lessening the damage done by the burn injury. But in moxibustion, take a look. You can induce your HSPs to bring about systemic effect. No? So, as an endogenous protective mechanism, HSPs can be synthesized in cells in response to hyperthermia or high temperature and other environmental stresses, such as the heat from moxa and the burning, stinging sensation from moxa. So HSPs induced by moxibustion may be an important factor of its mechanism of action. Also, take a look. By irradiating the acupoint pain models of rat with radiogenic heat of 40 to 43 degrees Celsius, a different type of heat, there's no significant changes in the tail flick latency or vocalization threshold, suggesting that not any thermal stimulation can achieve moxibustion efficacy. So what this one tells us is that the heat of moxa cannot be readily duplicated by a warm compress or whatever heating modalities. Remember, the heat of moxa is very different from the heat of a warm compress or a other types of heat. So the burning moxa emits also, did you know? It also emits a visible light and infrared radiation. Therefore, besides the heat effects, non-thermal radiation effect may be an important role in the efficacy of moxibustion. We were always taught before, no? I used to believe that moxa is just heat. But when I did this presentation and I came across the researches, moxa is not just heat. It's something deeper. It has an IR effect or your radiation effect by the spectrum. Because remember, physics tells us that the radiation is a process of energy outward diffusion in the form of electromagnetic waves or particles. Any object above absolute zero in temperature emits electromagnetic radiation. So basically, the layman saying of moxa giving energy to the body is not just any hearsay. Remember, in these research findings, it also has radiation effect, your light and IR radiation. So moxa is not just about heat. It also has something to do with the spectrum of radiation. So take a look. Ignited moxa radiation spectrum ranges from zero point 0.8 to 5.6 micrometers. The peak is 1.5 micrometers, lying within the NIR portion. Thermal radiation burning moxa stick measured by indirect methods is mainly FIR near NIR, spectrum peak of 2.8 micrometers. Basically, what this one is just trying to tell us is that moxa and laser has a common denominator, or they have a common ground in terms of regulating your radiation spectrums to bring about physiological effects in the body. So this is the modern research about moxa. Then also take a look. The radiation spectrum of drug moxa sticks is distributed from the red light through NIR to MIR, in which multi-peaks, especially at 2.4 micrometers, are detected, and without the parts of wavelength shorter than zero point 0.6 micrometers. No? But also, I want you to take a look at this chart of here, this one. So basically, this chart is a unified IR radiation spectrums of an acupuncture point, specifically your LI4. So what they did is that they measured the relative value of your LI4 together with indirect moxas using the three ingredients and a moxa stick. Surprisingly, when you analyze this chart, it was found out that there was a surprising consistency in the spectrums of the three types of indirect moxa, the monk should cake, the ginger, and the garlic, and the unified spectrum of acupoints. So if you can see, both had their peaks of radiation near 7.5 micrometers after modification. No, it should be 10, but they modified it. So eventually what they got was 7.5 micrometers. No, then there was also a big difference between the IR spectrum of the moxa stick versus an indirect moxa. So if you can see, they would overlap on each other at the spectrum of 5 micrometers. So basically, if you can see here, the spectrum of your Li4 is in conjunction with the spectrum of indirect moxa using these three ingredients. So basically, what it tells us here is that you also have a radiation effect in terms happening on a cellular level to bring about physiological effects. No? And also, take a look at this. They also analyze your moxa stick, a smokeless moxa, and a cigarette versus the indirect moxa. Some people are asking me, Doc Web, how come you are not using smokeless? Why would you go for the hassle of a traditional moxa or one with smoke? My answer is simply because take a look at the intensity of radiation. For a traditional moxa stick, it ranges from 43,000 plus, no? Versus a smokeless moxa stick that is around 31.15 value plus or minus 3. So that alone tells you the difference in the radiation effect. So for me, I would always choose the traditional moxa with smoke if possible, because aside from the heat that I want as an effect, there's also the radiation effect measured in millivolts, no, that can bring about multiple physiological effects in the body. So take a look as well when you do an indirect moxa, the one we discussed before with different ingredients. So we famously use the monk should cake, your ginger and garlic. Roughly they have a unified spectrum of 500 to around 600 plus millivolts when you use these ingredients together with moxa. So in this study, they try to substitute it with cool ingredients such as your cucumber and your carrot, and take a look at the results. Easily, the with the cucumber, your intensity of radiation is half, no, with the cucumber, and for carrots it's easily 1/10 of the strength of the when compared using with warming ingredients. So basically what this one is trying to tell us is that the ingredients that you use for moxa is also important to bring about its effect, no? So basically, they concluded that in the therapeutic effect of traditional indirect moxa, the resonance vibrations of IR radiation of indirect moxa and acupoints play an important role. And the substitute moxa, whether by smokeless or other ingredients, could not replace the traditional moxa in terms of the IR characteristics of moxibustion. So this is one of my favorite slides whenever I'm being asked why would I go for a smoke moxa versus a smokeless moxa. Okay, smokeless moxa is also good. This one is suited for people that are very sensitive to the moxa smoke, no, or those that have limitations in their moxa practice. But if you guys can go back to the old school of the traditional moxa stick with smoke, here is the chart that can help you back up your practice and give you a more stronger conviction of practicing the traditional old school moxa. Okay. So the IR. Remember, when you have the IR acting on the body, it will produce a thermal and non-thermal effects. Thermal effects are produced under the action of EMW, or your electromagnetic waves. So this can help promote blood circulation and improve the cell and enzyme activities. Also, the non-thermal effect, it relates to the electromagnetic waves and organism, more complex and nonlinear characteristics, no? So basically, when you do moxa, it's like doing a laser acupuncture, because in laser acupuncture, what we use are the IR ranges, red to IR range, no? So NIR is believed to play a major role in the biological radiation effect of moxibustion. So when NIR irradiates the body, the light reflected by the skin is relatively low. The energy can be transmitted about 1 centimeter deep into the skin, reach the tissues, and be absorbed by them. So NIR is absorbed by connective tissue, blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, and nerves under the irradiated screen, distributed to other parts of the body, enhance the metabolism and thermogenesis of the organs they reach, meaning heat generation of the organs, no? So that's why it's very suited for cold syndromes, no? So remember, NIR can also energize the metabolism of cells. So here lies the explanation of sometimes why patients are saying, Doc, after moxibustion, I felt energized. I felt re-energized. So that term is not only taken literally, but it has also a grounds in science, no? Because they found out that your moxibustion has the NIR spectrum. And when you have the NIR spectrum range affecting your cells, it can help your cells jumpstart to do their physiologic and your anti-inflammatory systemic action. So it can also energize the metabolism of cells. The energy generated by the photoelectric effect and photochemical process and pass through the nerve humoral system can provide the activation of pathological cells lacking energy and then further adjust the body immune and neurological function. So this helps us explain why moxa has a, aside from the local, it can also has a systemic effect, and why the ancient Chinese physicians use moxibustion as a way to help cure chronic complex diseases, strengthen the immune system, and preserve life. Okay? So very interesting findings. The third mystery to the moxa, the pharmacological actions of moxa. Why would I go for moxa versus a warm compress or a heat lamp? It's because moxibustion, aside from the heat, aside from the radiation, you also have the herbal drug property of your Artemisia RG or Artemisia vulgaris. No? So take a look. The ingredients of moxa are complicated. More than 60 kinds of components had been identified. And it also has volatile oils, including your cineol, alkenes, camphor, borneol, etc., etc. And then heptatriocontain plays an important role in combustion. Moxa also has tannins, flavonoids, sterols, polysaccharides, trace elements, and other ingredients. So if you take a look at this, they are more or less compounds for antioxidant compounds. Because remember, moxa is derived from plant. That's why it has volatile oil, no? So volatile oil is ano eh, 'di ba? The volatility tendency of a substance to evaporate at normal temperatures. You harvest them from plants. Those volatile oils can bring about the effect of the desired herbal plant that you are harvesting. So that's why nowadays there's also the rise of the essential oils, right? Because the essential oils technically are derived from the volatile oils of the respective plants. Okay? So interesting findings, no? And also take a look. In the first slide of my lecture, the province of choice is Chicho, but now, based on more research, actually it's now becomes Hubei province because the oil rate of CI in Hubei is obviously higher than in other places. So what's in Hubei? Hubei province is a province in China with abundant sunshine, fertile soil, suitable temperature, and a humid climate. Very suited for growing moxa plant. No? And then they analyze it scientifically. The Qi from Hubei was measured with an energy output of 18,139 joules per gram. So this is the measurement of energy if you still remember your physics. No? So you measure energy in terms of joules, and then they analyze different moxa from different provinces, and it turns out Hubei has the highest. 18,000 was the biggest and has been considered to be the best moxa material since ancient times. So if you're planning to buy moxa abroad, especially from China, try to find those from Hubei province. Volatile oil rate of moxa 0.45 to 1%. So various effects of this volatile oil like an essential oil, no? So it can aid in the expansion of airway smooth muscle, relieve cough, expectorant effect, and a strong antioxidant activity because your moxa is very rich in flavonoids and polysaccharides. Then, these are pharmacologically speaking that you have a relative equilibrium moisture content of 13.51 degrees, 13.51%, relative ash content 11.77%, relative smoke production 126.42%. So parts of the moxa combustion products are brown tar-like substances. So they play a role by penetrating to the human body through the skin damaged by the burning. That's why when you're doing moxa, and then you put it in moxa equipment such as your moxa box. After you finish your treatment, you would notice that underneath those metals or underneath the box, you will have these sticky substances of brown tar-like substances. Are these chemicals? No, they're not chemicals. They are combustion products of your volatile oils. So volatile oils can produce these tar-like substances, no? So this is a good indication, technically speaking, whether or not your moxa is derived from a real plant or a fake one, no? So the brown tar-like substance is from the volatile oil rate because of the herbal plant. Also, it has also the moxa, and the combustion process does the actions of clearing free radicals and lipid peroxidation, and result indicated that the active ingredients of moxa were increased rather than being destroyed after burning. So this is very true when you have multiple ingredients in the moxibustion stick, no? And then did you know that when they did a spectrum chromatography, antioxidant components were found in band 4. So basically, what they're trying to say here is that moxibustion, aside from the heat, aside from radiation effect, you also have the pharmacological property of the herbal plant and an antioxidant effect as well going into your body, to your cells. So ginger and garlic also, they analyze. You have your gingerol and allicin respectively that could act on the body by heat to give about the therapeutic effects. So the extract of moxa ashes have the strong ability of anti-free radicals, no? So here is another age-old question about the smoke. Did you know that the smoke of the traditional moxa and its volatile ingredients such as your ammonia, alcohols, hydrocarbons, etc., has effect as well? So what did they see, no? Did you know that burning moxa, they analyzed the smoke of the burning moxa, and then they found out that when you burn moxa, that smoke has roughly 26 ingredients. And then it's also divided on certain time periods. Like for the first 10 minutes, you have your furan structure substances, aromatic compounds, where the smell it's either very pleasing or to some people it's irritating, no? But for me, I found moxa to be very pleasing to the smell because of the aromatic compound by your herbal plant, your artemisia. And then after 40 to 70 minutes, you will have esters, alkanes, and hydroxyl containing compounds as well. So did you know that the smoke of moxa can be used for air disinfection, and you can also act on it as antiviral and antifungal? So this is another reason why I would love to use Moxibustion smoke with traditional smoke moxa versus smokeless. Because whenever I do my smoke moxa, I also tend to disinfect my surrounding areas. So, the smoke of moxa in ancient times can be used for wound infections, vaginal itching, uterine prolapse, anal fistula, common warts, and the likes, no? However, there's still a debate on the safety of the moxa smoke because you have to remember your mugwort leaf also contains your terpenes, your PAC carcinogens, air pollutants, and is tenfold higher than the State Environmental Protection Act. But this was counteracted by a research done in 2009 by Wheeler and Chen, showing that consideration to short-term and long-term exposure showed that the volatile matter and carbon monoxide generated by the smoke of moxa under operating conditions did not exceed the safety level. So, generally, it's safe to do moxa provided you have proper adequate ventilation. So, in conclusion, aside from the ones we taught a while ago, um, you have the meridian system together with your flame of the moxa, together with the pharmacologic effects, radiation, and thermal effects of moxa. However, they still concluded great distance from fully understanding the mechanism of moxa. So, meridian and acupoint system is of key understanding for moxibustion, and then pay attention to the phenomenon of heat sensitive points because some points are quite sensitive than the others. We tend to believe that they have more problem, no? So those heat sensitive points, or the so-called ashi moxa points, are the points that you should moxa, because that's your body's signal of telling you that the problem lies here at this point in time. Second, you should take a look the conclusion. Pay more attention to scarring moxa. Very interesting suggestion. Because remember, there's a saying, where there is moxibustion sore, there is cure. Scarring moxa has the advantage of curative effect in the treatment of some chronic refractory disease. So I already talked about scarring moxa in the previous lecture. Then also more technologies to study the moxibustion. You have to have more technologies for it. And also you should try to do more research on moxa by analyzing other devices as well. So moxa itself has many mysteries ahead. No? Okay? So, with that being said, let's go now over to warming needle techniques in acupuncture and moxa, because some of you practices warming needles. So let me talk a bit about warming needle. We already thought about this a while ago or before in the previous lecture. So in this study, they tend to get rabbits actually. Their subjects are anesthetized rabbits during needle warming, and the acupoint they choose is GB30. No, I'm sure you're all familiar where GB30 is located in your gluteus medius, and then they try to analyze the effects at a certain moxa distance. No, so basically, with common knowledge, the shorter your distance from the moxa, the higher the temperature you have. So the farther your distance, the less thermal effect you have. No? So, and then they also analyze it, the stomach 36 of human subjects during needle warming. No? So distance between moxa and skin, they try to analyze it with cardboard and without cardboard. So for without cardboard, a distance of roughly 3 cm can produce a heat effect of 40 to 42 degrees Celsius. No? So, take a look. Basically, this is a computer chart record showing the temperature scale of the moxa of stomach 36. No? It was observed that the skin temperature did not increase significantly until the lower part of the moxa started to burn. So, and the effective heating period that is more than 37 degrees Celsius lasted only 2 to 3 minutes, and it takes a while for you to have that effect, no? So, so basically what they're trying to say, when you're doing warming needling, the effect isn't immediate or instant, because you have to wait for the moxa to burn at the bottom, and then that's the time your temperature would increase. No? So it takes roughly around 13 minutes, 12 to 14 minutes for you to increase your temperature. But I wanted to show you this slide. Take a look at this slide. No? So this is a slide on the left side. This one is warming needle without cardboard or without paper. And then on the other end is a warming needling with a paper cover on it. So if you can notice this picture with these colors, no? Basically for those without cardboard, it's clear cut. It's clear cut. Meaning meaning the the shorter your distance, the higher the temperature. Then that's it. So the farther your distance, the less temperature you have. But what we want to take a look is this one, the cardboard. Take a look. You have heating areas here, then you have a cold area here, then you have another heating area here with the cardboard. So basically, this one tells us that this is a biphasic graph with the cardboard. So what is this trying to tell us, no? Um Tawag dito, with a piece of cardboard placed 25 millimeter or 2.5 cm under the moxa block or 1 inch, the temperature distribution along the needle shaft was bimodal. So, it means that the cardboard, aside from protecting you from your ash, can help also retain heat at the local area. So after this point, no, take a look. The shaft temperature increased gradually towards the cardboard, reaching a maximum of 48 degrees Celsius at the juncture of the cardboard and the needle. So basically what they're trying to say here is that the increase in temperature from the bottom slide was it's because of the reflection of the heat radiation by the cardboard underneath. So your cardboard is not just for safety precautions. It can help retain the heat and facilitate better effect of warming needling. Okay? So a very interesting finding. And I'm sure of you, you're asking, no? Effective heating distance of the needle shaft was limited to less than 2 cm from the Moxibustion site. On the other hand, at least 25 millimeters was required between the Moxa site and the skin surface for safe needle warming practice. So in short, 1 inch. You should have at least a 1 inch distance for it to be effective. So there's no effective direct heat transmission from the needle to the skin tissue and below in needle warming. Then the overall heating time of the acupoint in needle warming was rather brief, lasting only 2 to 3 minutes, comparing with the 25 minutes that were required to burn the whole block of moxa. So the implications, basically what they're trying to say here is that you need to have a temperature of over 40 degrees Celsius to produce physiologic effects. No? So the temperature window for the therapeutic heat treatment relatively narrow, between 40 to 42 degrees. Because if you do not exceed 40, the SRD neurons will not be activated. So remember, when you're going to do your warming needling, 1 inch is the magic number. Okay? 1 inch or 25 millimeters. Okay? Next. Generally believed that the heat of burning moxa can be transmitted to the acupoint by the shaft of the needle in addition to heat radiation. Needle warming technique allows heat being conducted into the deeper part of the acupoint, hence resulting in thermal stimulation of deep tissue. Whereas moxibustion with moxa stick has also only superficial effects on the skin, there's only radiant heat stimulation to the acupuncture point as heat from the needle is lost at a distance over 2 cm before the needle penetrates the skin. So if you're gonna do warming needle, yeah, 1 inch is the distance, no? But actually, moxa stick not only superficial. I beg to disagree. It can also have a deeper effect on it, especially when you have a deep heat penetration. Because remember, once you stimulate your SRD neurons at a temperature of 44 degrees Celsius, you can brought about analgesic effect and systemic effect. So the conclusion, present findings indicate that the needle warming practice is an inefficient heat stimulation by combustion of moxa because there's no direct heat transmission to the tissue by the acupuncture needle. For radiant heat stimulation of the acupoint surface, other techniques of moxa, such as moxa box, may be safer and more efficient. New technologies, electrical heating devices in the future can improve the needle warming technique. So they're concluded in this study that it takes too long for your needle warming to take effect. But there are people that loves warming needling. So maybe you guys can further explore and expand the practice of warming needles. But nevertheless, warming needles also takes into consideration the principles of moxibustion. So with that being said, I've now dealt with the Western medicine in terms of moxibustion and warming needling. So I think we can end our topic here. We can end our topic here for the day. We will end it here since I tackled moxibustion briefly today on a Western point of view. So with that being said, once again, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your time and attention in listening to the LAMPS webinar of moxibustion. So thank you very much and have a blessed evening. Thank you.